These are all 21 final forms in solo leveling. So, let's get right into it with the final form of the S-rank hunter Baek Yoonho. When things heat up, this guy doesn't mess around. His hair turns white, his muscles bulk up, and his nails sharpen into claws, like we saw during the Jeju Island raid on episode 1 when he fought the ants, or when he was ready to throw down with Dong-Soo. But those times, that was Yoonho holding back, as he only partially transformed to boost specific parts of his body. When he decides to go all out though, that's when things get wild. He goes full beast mode, transforming into a tiger-like humanoid monster with sleek white fur, glowing white hair, claws sharp enough to slice through steel, and fangs that would make any predator jealous. In this form, his strength and speed skyrocket, making an already powerful S-rank hunter into an absolute powerhouse. Moving on, we've got an even stronger character, the national hunter Thomas Andre, also known as the Goliath. And trust me, the name fits. Because when he enters his final form, Thomas covers himself in this insane golden armor, complete with intimidating black horns, and his hair takes on this fiery, flame-like glow. But don't think for a second that it's all just for show. His defensive power in this form is absolutely insane. So much so that when Jinwoo fought him, Jinwoo literally bruised his hands just from punching the guy. And it's not just his defense that levels up, his attack power goes through the roof too. So, yeah, it's no wonder this guy is ranked as the strongest hunter in the world. Now, let's continue with another national level hunter. This time, we've got Christopher Reed, and his final form is next level terrifying. Because when he transforms into his final form, he turns into this one-eyed humanoid monster with blazing orange hair that's literally on fire. But here's the craziest part. Those flames? Yeah, they're so insanely strong that it took 14 S-rank hunters just to put them out. Seriously, let that sink in. This dude's power was so wild it took a whole team of top-tier hunters just to deal with the aftermath of his transformation. So that's Christopher Reed for you. Straight up terrifying. Next up, we've got Kim Chul, a guy who started off as nothing but an arrogant jerk. After watching his entire squad get wiped out, he straight up lost it and tried to attack Jinwoo and his team. Then, while Jinwoo was busy taking on Beru, who was just insanely OP, Kim decided to get back up and go after Jinwoo. But, big mistake. Jinwoo, realizing he and Igris won't be enough to handle Beru alone, came up with a galaxy brain move. He killed Kim, extracted his shadow, and named it Iron. Now, as a loyal shadow soldier, Iron immediately proved his worth by helping Jinwoo take down Beru. And in a moment of pure badassery, Iron ended the Ice Elf by smashing him into the ground with his massive battle axe. So yeah, Kim Chul's final form, that's his shadow form. And the crazy part? He went from being one of the most hated characters to an absolute fan favorite in like 1.5 episodes. Now, we've got to start talking about the Monarchs and their insane final forms. So first up, we've got Tarnak, the Monarch of the Iron Body. And let me tell you, his final form is straight up monstrous. At first glance, Tarnak looks like your standard pretty handsome villain, but then things get wild. His body starts to crack and this eerie green light begins to shine through. Ultimately, he fully transforms into a massive, gigantic golem with glowing lime green hair and dark gray armor. And Tarnak's golem form is all about raw, destructive power, smashing through anything or anyone in his path. Next up is Rakan, the Monarch of Fangs, and this guy's final form is going to look pretty familiar. Why? Because when Rakan goes all out, he transforms into a gigantic white wolf, and trust me, he's just as deadly as he looks. And just like Yoonho, who can also transform into a huge, terrifying beast, Rakan can also partially transform, picking and choosing which parts of his body to enhance. For example, during his fight with Thomas Andre, he went for a hybrid look, transforming his arms, legs, torso, and hair to gain a huge boost in power while still keeping his humanoid form. So yeah, he's the wolf version of Yoonho, but way stronger. Now, the Monarch of Frost, Sillid. And this guy looks like just an old man. But don't let that fool you. When Sillid unleashes his final form, he transforms into a youthful, almost ethereal version of himself. His hair grows longer and takes on this glowing, flame-like quality, and his ears elongate into sharp, elf-like points. Oh, and his wardrobe? Yeah, he pretty much ditches most of it, leaving him in nothing but black pants and boots. With his final form, if his looks don't freeze you in fear, his overwhelming power will. Let's talk about Kuresha, the Monarch of Plagues, and if you've got a fear of bugs, well, she's basically your worst nightmare come to life. Her final form? Straight up nightmare fuel. Croatia transforms into this terrifying insect-like monster with countless appendages sticking out of her back, and her entire body is made up of swarming insects. It's not just for show though, she can summon and weaponize all these insects. Whether it's overwhelming her enemies or using them to set up traps, Croatia's abilities are as deadly as they are creepy. Seriously, if you thought the other monarchs were scary, Croatia takes things to a whole new level of disturbing. Now, the strongest monarch of them all, the Monarch of Destruction, Antares. And his final form? Well, it's on a completely different level, as Antares transforms into an enormous red dragon. Oh, and he's got an ability called the Breath of Destruction, which is easily one of the most terrifying moves in the entire series. If Antares hits you with this, you're not just taking massive damage, you literally cannot heal from it, and Jinwoo found this out the hard way when he took a hit from it to save Igris. And his hand? Well, this is what his hand looks like now. So yeah, that's how deadly it is. Just like Rakan and Yoonho, Antares can also transform into a hybrid form. His human-dragon hybrid form, where he gets snake-like eyes, reptilian armor, and a menacing white helmet with 4 dragon horns. It's intimidating, sure, but his full-on dragon form, way scarier. Alright, that wraps up the Monarchs, so let's dive back into the Hunters. And first up is one of the strongest hunters in the world, the S-rank hunter Lennart Nierman. Now, Lennart's final form is called Charge, and it's as flashy as it sounds. In this form, he summons these glowing teal-colored gauntlets around his arms that lets him fire off some seriously powerful energy blasts. And these blasts are strong enough to blind and disorient enemies like Rakan, but while these blasts are impressive, they didn't have enough raw power to actually hurt the Monarch. So yeah, Lennart's final form is super cool and great for some situations, but when it comes to those next-level intense battles, Lennart's unfortunately gotta take a step back. Someone who absolutely doesn't want to take the backseat in battles is Ma Dong-wook. Now, despite being one of the weaker S-rank hunters in the world, Dong-wook's final form is something you definitely don't want to mess with. His final form is called Gigantification, and, well, it does exactly what you think it does. He literally doubles his size, turning into this towering brute of a fighter. This huge transformation gives him a massive boost in strength, and obviously with that size, he gets some serious intimidation factor going for him too. And it's pretty wild to think that this guy, who's considered one of the weaker S-ranks, can transform into a giant powerhouse like that. Another S-rank hunter we've got to talk about, Min Byung-gyu. His final form? His shadow form. Because during the 4th Jeju Island raid, Min unfortunately met his end. But Jinwoo revived him as a shadow soldier in order to heal injured hunters on the island. And his healing ability made him incredibly valuable, showing why this truly is his final form. But later, Jinwoo terminated his shadow extraction and let him rest in peace. So yeah, understandable, but also kinda sad. Alright, let's start talking about more characters whose final form is being a shadow. And of course, we've got to start with everyone's favorite, Igris. Before becoming part of Jinwoo's shadow army, he was the blood-red commander under Ashborn. But when Ashborn decided to retire, Ashborn tasked Igris with testing his future successor in battle. And that successor, of course, turned out to be Jinwoo. So, when Jinwoo reached the boss room of the job change quest, Igris immediately pushed him to his limit, tossing him around and nearly taking him out. But Jinwoo managed to turn the fight around, landing a strike to his eye and finish him off. And here's the cool part. Igris wasn't weaker than Jinwoo. In fact, he was stronger. But he saw Jinwoo as worthy of following, which is why he, on Jinwoo's 3rd try to raise him, became part of his shadow army. And this is why Baruka didn't become a shadow, because he was stronger than Jinwoo and didn't see him as a worthy leader. But yeah, Igris' final form is his shadow form, a loyal and powerful soldier in Jinwoo's army. Moving on, we've got the Ant King, and this guy is terrifying. The Ant King was the hidden boss of the Jeju Island S-rank gate, and he was as arrogant as he was bloodthirsty. All he wanted was a worthy opponent to fight, so when Jinwoo stepped up, the Ant King got exactly that. But, of course, Jinwoo did what he does best and took the Ant King down. But after the Ant King's death, Jinwoo extracted his shadow and named him Beru. And this is where the real fun begins. As a shadow soldier, Beru becomes one of Jinwoo's most trusted and powerful subordinates. And not only that, he literally becomes Jinwoo's #1 fan. Alright, let's talk about the Alpha Ice Bear. This guy was seriously intimidating as he's huge with a muscular body, and when he roars, those glowing red eyes will make you think twice about facing him. But of course, Igris showed off his skills to his master by taking him down during the Red Gate incident. and Jinwoo then extracted the Alpha Ice Bear's shadow and added him to his army, naming him Tank. And Tank is absolutely the perfect name for this big scary bear. He's right there on the front lines, ready to smash anything in his way. Next up, we've got Kargalgan. Kargalgan was a high orc shaman and the big boss of the Hunters Guild Gate. He was pretty powerful in his own right, but once he was taken down and his shadow was extracted by Jinwoo, he got the name Tusk. As a shadow soldier, Tusk becomes one of Jinwoo's most dangerous magic users, and his strength lies in his devastating area of effect spells, which can wipe out huge groups of enemies in no time. But it's not just his raw magical power. Tusk is also incredibly smart, making him a huge asset to Jinwoo's army, especially when it comes to large-scale battles. Now we've got to talk about Hwang Dong-soo, the man who absolutely despised Jinwoo for killing his brother. So, when they finally faced off, the fight was brutal, with Dong-soo going all out. But Jinwoo's of course too OP, so Dong-soo was defeated. After his defeat, Dong-soo's shadow was extracted, and he was given the name Greed, which is Dong-soo's final form. Now, Greed's fully aware of the crimes he committed while he was alive, so Greed is humble, quiet, and servile towards his master, often asking for permission to speak and addressing him with honorifics. Having talked about Dong-soo, we've got to talk about his brother, Hwang Dong-suk. Now, Dong-suk's final form is pretty simple, but still effective. He uses an ability called Enhanced Power, which boosts his muscles and his physical stats across the board, making him stronger, tougher, and overall more dangerous, which definitely makes him a threat. At least, that's what he thought when he went to kill Jinwoo after Jinwoo had killed his squad. But, as we all know, Jinwoo easily took him down. But still, Dong-suk's final form can absolutely take down weaker hunters. Alright, now let's move on to Kang Tae-shik, who is all about stealth. As an assassin, his final form doesn't rely on raw strength or big transformations. It's all about becoming one with the shadows. When he activates his stealth ability, he becomes completely invisible, blending perfectly with his surroundings. It's the ultimate assassin move, allowing him to hide both physically and magically, making him nearly undetectable. But just like Dong-suk, it didn't save him from Jinwoo. So yeah, they all just need to learn that Jinwoo is too OP. Now, before we talk about Sung Jinwoo himself, we've got his future wife, Hae-In, and her own incredible final form, Sword Dance. And honestly, it's as graceful as it sounds. Sword Dance boosts her attack speed significantly, letting her slice through her enemies. It's not just about raw power, it's about precision, elegance, and speed. So it's the perfect representation of Cha's fighting style, combining beauty and brutality. Okay, now the one you've all been waiting for, Sung Jinwoo. And his final form is the most OP of them all. Well, duh. His final form is the True Shadow Monarch form, and when he uses this form, it's game over for anyone standing in his way. During his fight with Antares, Jinwoo realized he was nowhere near strong enough to take down the Monarch, and that's when the true power of the Shadow Monarch awakened. Suddenly, black armor covered his entire body, radiating a haunting purple glow. This wasn't just any armor though, this was the true power of Ashborn, left behind for Jinwoo. It was the ultimate power of darkness, fully unleashed. The power that surged through Jinwoo was insane, endless, bottomless, and destructive. It felt like pure chaos embodied, and in this form, Jinwoo becomes an unstoppable force. His speed, strength, and abilities were all taken to an entirely new level, and nothing could stand against him. So ultimately, he literally becomes one of the strongest characters in the history of anime. And yeah, you can quote me on that. Which final form is your favorite? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and watch this video next.